This week on the Computer Chronicles, Tax Time. We'll help you get your finances organized with a look at personal finance software. We'll show you some websites that are great resources for getting your tax returns together, plus the two leading tax preparation programs, Kiplinger Tax Cut and Intuit's TurboTax. Also, we'll look at what the IRS is doing online to encourage taxpayer compliance, and my pick of the week, a new way to deal with information overload. It's all coming up next on the Computer Chronicles.
The Computer Chronicles is made possible in part by PeopleSoft, a global supplier of enterprise application software for business, education, and government. PeopleSoft, we work in your world. By TechWeb for up-to-the-minute technology news. And by TVA, Television Associates, bridging the worlds of computers and video with DVD authoring and MPEG encoding services.
Hi, and welcome to the Computer Chronicles. I'm Stewart Cheifet. Well, one of the two certainties in life is taxes. Sooner or later, we all have to face up to filing our income tax statements. Once upon a time, this was a manual mess of a task. But with today's computer software and the net, as onerous a job as that may be, it is a lot easier than it used to be. We're going to show you how to use your PC to make tax time, if not enjoyable, at least bearable. The first step, of course, is to have your personal finances organized. And for that step, we'll turn to Julie O'Brien. And you're the money lady, Money 99 from Microsoft. And of course, there's Quicken out there, and there's Money's, similar products. Let's start off with the basics. I mean, this is something we should all do, but we don't tend to get organized. How do I use software like Money to just sort of keep track of what I'm doing before it gets to tax time?
It's very easy. A program like Money can help you basically manage your personal finances. So everything from taking your checkbook, tracking electronically, paying your bills, managing your investments, and keeping on top of your finances.
So when I spend money, when I make money, I enter it all inside something like Money, and I have this sort of regular database, so I'm ready to go when it's tax time?
Right, and we alert you if you need to pay a bill, or we also track things like tax deductible
Sure. All right,
items.
so let's get to the taxation part of it. So say I've been a good boy and I've used Money all year long, and now it's tax time. First of all, I would have a question. What have I spent that might be deductible, for example? Can I go to that and figure it out?
Sure, you might have spent something like your home mortgage interest, or let's say you donated money to charity.
Oh, how do I find that out in the software?
One of the things you can do, actually, is go to our tax category area, and we show you each of the items, such as mortgage interest, which tax form they go to.
So it's smart enough to know certain kinds of things are going to enter into my tax deduction situation.
Yep, and you can actually set up other categories as well.
And will it actually calculate it, or actually give me those numbers?
Yeah, it'll actually take all that information and track it throughout the year and create a tax software report. So here are all of the items that I've been following each during the year, and shows me what my totals are as well.
All right, that's on the deduction side. Now, how about other things? I mean, I may have made a donation, or I may have earned things which have to be treated different ways on my taxes. Does it sort of keep track of any tax effect transaction that I've been involved in?
We actually help you determine whether or not you can take a deduction using our tax deduction finder. So let's say, for example, you decide to donate a computer to the local school system, and you want to find out, is this something that I can deduct later on? We'll walk you through the questions you need to ask in terms of figuring out if this is something you can or cannot deduct. And once you've answered those, we'll show you the relevant tax form, any limits, and then actually link you out to the IRS
So you really have tax information sitting in here. I mean, this really is a sort of a little mini tax program sitting inside Money.
Plenty of information from different experts, articles on the CD, and different sources that you can go to and find out what can I actually deduct and what can I not.
Now let's go to the numbers. You actually, as I understand it, keep track of my finances and estimate during the course of the year what my tax liability might be?
You've got it. We actually have something called the tax worksheet, and it's a step-by-step wizard that walks you through the process of finding out how much are you going to owe on April 15th.
So similar to the kind of interview you might do in tax software, you give it a certain amount of information about who you are and what your situation is, and it makes some sort of rough guess as to what my tax
but most of the information is already pre-populated for you because you've used Money throughout the year.
Okay, so it knows how much I'm earning, and it knows how much I'm spending, et cetera.
So you can do some tweaks, and we actually show you down below in the summary bar whether you're going to have a refund, hopefully, or whether you're going to actually owe at the end.
So in terms of tax planning, this is not like, let me think about what I ought to do next year, but during the course of the year, how are my financial activities affecting the tax consequences?
And as that estimate, let's say you actually end up owing money, we can actually create a tax payment. So I'm going to owe about $1,000, and I can add that payment to my budget. So I can plan for actually...
So I'm ready, I better be prepared to spend $1,000 whenever that time comes.
Yeah, and then we change that payment automatically.
Now you mentioned information, Q&A kind of stuff. Is there sort of expert advice here in that area?
We actually give you over 30 articles on the CD related to taxes, such as basic ways to cut your tax bills, and then give you current news headlines from sources such as Forbes, Wall Street Journal, and our own Microsoft Money Central site.
All right, so you have a web link in here where you could go out and actually find the latest information on tax law changes or whatever?
You tell us you're interested in taxes, and we'll send you new headlines every week on tax-related information.
So basically, I just have to be a good boy, be disciplined, and do this during the course of the year, and then when April comes around, it's not such a hassle?
It's that easy.
All right, thank you very much, Julie.
Thank you.
All right, well, the internet has become a great help in tax preparation. You can get forms, advice, all kinds of information. That can help you solve lots of your tax filing problems, and our guide on the web will be Leslie.
Hi.
And you're with Money Magazine and the money.com website. So why don't we start there? You guys have a very good website, money.com, which has a lot of this kind of stuff. Give us sort of an introduction to what we'd find there, Leslie.
Okay. Well, first of all, there's a nice Q&A column that I actually do, Dear Money.
Dear Money, there you are.
Yes, where people can write in with any question.
So I can ask you a question?
Yes. Now the thing is, you might not get your question answered right away, or you might be able to go into the archives and say,
where somebody's asked a similar question
similar
before?
question. So that, you can look back and see, did someone have a similar question or related to this? So that's actually very helpful.
So there's Ask Leslie, number one. That's a good start.
Ask
what else?
Leslie, that's good. We also have a
So there's some of the examples of the Q&As that would be in there?
Yes.
Okay.
We also have a tax area where we cover either changes in the tax law. For instance, in 1998, there were a lot of changes in the tax law. What do these mean to you? What does this mean?
All right, so if I want to do some background research on should I adjust the way I'm running my finances based on the new tax laws and what do I qualify for and what do I don't, I can get those kinds of answers?
Right, good place to look. Now, the other thing that we have are calculators where you can kind of figure out how to look and see maybe how the tax law changes would affect your bottom line. So you can kind of plug in your numbers and figure things out. So it's also good to look and see.
So you mean an intelligent calculator that knows the consequences of things. It doesn't just multiply, I assume.
Right, exactly. Also, we'll have things like quizzes, like should you hire a tax preparer or can you do them yourself? So we'll take you through a little list of steps.
That's a good point. I mean, you're looking for somebody to do your taxes. I can actually find that kind of information
Yes,
online?
In fact, we'll have a story on how do you choose a CPA? What kind of questions do you ask?
Okay, so sort of general background stuff.
Yes.
All right, let's get to the nitty-gritty now.
Right.
What about the IRS itself? I mean, they have a pretty good website too, don't they?
IRS, believe it or not, has an excellent website.
Right.
People, I think, go, oh, forget it, I'm not going to deal with the IRS. They actually have a very good website, very well organized, and you can find a lot of basic information, and you don't have to get involved with the IRS.
It doesn't look like the IRS, does it? Right?
No, it's very
friendly, warm, and cozy.
It's charming, right? They have these adorable
smile while we take your money.
Icons, right? So I think it's quite well organized. For instance, you want to find a publication. Can I take a home office deduction? You can simply key that in the search, or you can go right to the publications and you can just download it, which is very handy because, of course, it's like April 13th and you're doing your taxes and they're all out of forms.
So instead of calling the IRS and getting put on hold and all that, not knowing whether you're getting the right information, you can actually get answers to specific questions at their website?
Yeah, you can just do all the research yourself and not, whoa, who's this person I'm talking to on the phone? And if you're wondering, they have a handy little search tool. Just key in your...
So the IRS website is actually a pretty darn good one.
It's very good.
But you always worry, well, that's the government's point of view, right? We sort of have an adversarial relationship here. Are there other tax information sources that aren't the IRS sort of party line?
Well, it's government speak, so...
Yeah,
right. One area that I like is something called Tax Resources, and there are a couple of sites on the web that are like a compilation of tax information and tax articles. For instance,
sort of a tax portal here to take me to different places?
Yes, and you'll get a much broader perspective. For instance,
that looks good,
look at all these different topics. Here's our lovely home office deduction.
Problem that everybody has.
Right. Now, the thing is, not only will it show you, you can get IRS publication 587 on this, but it will take you to articles, say, in home office computing, which might say, hey, here's the home office deduction, but watch out for this. Something that the IRS probably wouldn't tell you. Here's, you don't want to trigger an audit. You also might be able to...
now, are these just articles that have been gathered from different magazines or publications, or is this original stuff on this website?
No, it's articles that you'll see home office.
So somebody's gathered all the relevant kinds of material for me.
Toolkit, here's a handy calculator, NOLO Press, IRS. So really you're getting all the different perspectives. You're getting kind of the bottom line, you're getting the press's take on things. So it's really a great way to kind of get more layers and more depth.
And are there sort of financial expert advisor people like you who are also in this website?
Yes, it's interesting because if you sort of scroll through, you'll find that lawyers or tax attorneys who have written articles on a specific, the nanny tax or a thorny issue, their articles will be linked here. Also, you'll see links to many of the
just scroll through that a bit
firms.
so we just see
Sure.
some of the different
you see
subjects
Vanguard
that are up
Mutual
there.
Fund comes
So
up.
taxation of investors, estate and gift taxation.
Right.
All that stuff, different
Statistics.
stats. Okay.
More
and
information than you probably want.
And
to
what
know.
is the URL for this site you're talking about?
This is pages.prodigy.net /AG Kalman.
All right,
And,
and we'll have that up on our website for people who can't keep
very
track
handy.
of it. Leslie, thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure.
All right, well, the IRS has a very big job, not only managing and enforcing the tax code and collecting the taxes, it has another more subtle task, encouraging tax filing compliance. To help do that, they've set up a special website, and we wanted to find out how effective that site is.
How do people pay taxes? How do people pay income taxes? Review from your...
The St. Pascal Baylon School, 8th grade class, 1999, Oakland, California. These teenagers are learning about their government and their responsibilities as American taxpayers. Their teacher uses standard tax forms, some history, and an IRS website called Taxi to help explain the system.
Just now I've begun talking about the reasons why the American Revolution started. And part of the reason why the American Revolution started is because the Americans, colonists, felt that they were being unfairly taxed by the British. So that's a perfect segue into why people get taxed and the reasons for taxing.
While it may seem premature or even cruel to expose 8th graders to such distant financial realities, the kids are remarkably sanguine about the concept.
They take something out of your check every month, and they go towards taxes, and they're used for like teachers, to pay teachers, firemen, police, and they're used to fix up cities.
It's not that confusing at all. You sign it, you tell them your income that you make, if you have any children, if you have a spouse who works, they'll tell you what you owe them, and then you'll pay it by form of them taking away money from your paycheck the month or just in one lump sum.
The Tax Interactive, or Taxi site, uses animated characters and comical sidebars to entertain as it teaches. Two fictional young taxpayers, pizza delivery boy and music store girl, wonder why their paycheck amounts to less than they expected. The site explains how taxes are distributed and why. Taxi provides lessons in economics and government that even adults could learn from.
It sort of debunks the myth about the IRS, about how they're just greedy and they don't care about anyone but themselves. And it kind of gives kids and adults mainly an idea by putting in fun graphics and trying to explain to them in layman terms, not the hardcore language that they use on some of the forums, in layman terms about the IRS.
Apart from its cartoon graphics and funny characters, the Taxi website has a section for teachers with sample forms and lesson plans. Still, the teacher's challenge is to explain something that very few of her students have experienced in the real world.
You can tell them that they're going to get taxes taken out of their paycheck, but they won't actually understand it till they experience the whole process. So that's why we tried to simulate the process today, that they were pretending that they just got a new job and that they were filling out these W-4 forms, that later the information would be used by the employer to give them the W-2 forms so that the kids could later fill out the 1040 EZ or A forms.
According to Mark Twain, only two things in life are certain: taxes and death. To most 8th graders, the two are only distant threats, but they can get a preview of one of life's inevitable moments at the Taxi site.
A lot of people give the IRS a bad rap, and that bad rap's not needed because a lot of those people don't understand all the good things that taxes do, and they're being greedy towards themselves, where they still want their money, but if they still didn't have their money, maybe their children couldn't attend a good school.
For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Sarah O'Brien.
So you're ready to start entering numbers and doing the hard work of completing your 1040. We're going to show you two different tax software programs that can really make that job a lot easier. First of all, TaxCut, Kiplinger TaxCut. Welcome, Gene. people are used to sitting around there with a million pieces of paper and pencils and filling in. It's an absolute nightmare to do your taxes, of course. Is it really easier to get your computer and the software involved?
Well, you forgot the bottle of whiteout and the bottle of wine that help you get through the return, Stuart. Yes, it is much easier because the computer does all the calculations for you, and the program fills out the forms for you. You can print them on your own printer using plain white paper. You don't have to worry about having the forms. They're all built in. And the program actually audits your return for missing data, things that might raise red flags at the IRS.
The hard part, it seems to me, Gene, I know how to multiply and divide. I mean, the hard part is knowing what you're supposed to do, and is it this thing, or that form, or that form, and can I deduct, and can I not deduct? Why don't we sort of take a look at the software, and how do I begin the process?
Well, basically, you install the program and turn it on, and we start taking you through the process, and that's the beauty of it.
Okay, so you have a section called Prepare, which means what?
It means prepare your return. And then we review your return for missing data and deductions, and then we help you file it.
All right, let's go back to Prepare.
Sure.
I mean, I've got all my papers, all my W-2s and all that stuff around. How do I actually now start to enter the data? Do I do it right into a form or what?
One of the things you can do, Stuart, of course, is import data from any of these popular financial programs, and that saves you a lot of work.
So if I was organized enough to be keeping my stuff in money or Quicken.
But if you're like me and you're not organized, then we start basically after asking you a few questions, we take you into an interview process that asks you simple questions. First, of course, we tell you about what's new in the tax law. The experts at Kiplinger help you.
All right, so this stuff is updated. It's got the current tax laws in it, and if I have a question, I can sort of ask a guy on the CD-ROM.
And he'll tell you exactly what's going on. And these are real tax experts from Kiplinger's Personal Finance magazine. And then we take you into preparing your return. Most people want to go through the full interview where we ask them simple, direct questions, starting with, of course, what's your name and where do you live?
All right, so let me understand. I answer the questions and it fills in the form, or do I directly type into the blanks on the form?
Oh, no, you answer the questions here and the form is filled in down below. Right. You can go and fill in the forms directly, and we've created a new system where by asking you a few questions about your tax situation, we create a custom list of forms that you want to fill in.
All right, so you can do it either way. I can go right into the form, I can do your Q&A. All right, so I take it I just entered the data. Now, what happens if I'm not sure? You run into these things, you know, you don't know, can I do it, which form?
Well, exactly, and that's where the very powerful help functions come in. And the help is built into the program, and it's all consolidated in one place we call Help Central. So if you, for example, wanted to find help on the home office, which is something that bothers a lot of people.
Can I take this or not?
I type it in, and then all this help that's in the program comes up. And if I enter right there, I go right into the interview section there. As I go through, the program helps me determine whether or not I qualify to take the home office deduction. And then at a certain point, if I need more help, I can go to Help Central, get Kiplinger advice, get IRS instructions.
Will it give me an answer? That's what I want to know.
Oh, yeah, well.
It'll say do it or don't do it?
It will give you the best answer possible.
But
sometimes
it's your butt.
You have to make the choice.
All right, quickly a couple of things. What does review do?
Review actually reviews the return for errors and omissions and for things that would raise a red flag at the IRS.
So if I forgot something or something doesn't look quite in sync, it says watch out for this one?
That's exactly right. At any point you can check on your refund status and see a summary of your tax
Hopefully
situation.
your refund status.
Exactly.
All right.
And then of course you go to the file function and you can file electronically, and electronic filing is free for the first return. Then finally, you can carry all your information to the free state tax software programs that we offer as part of our
deluxe edition. So you do the state stuff also?
Yes, and it doesn't cost you any extra for the software.
Real quickly, Gene, almost out of time, you actually have a simple version of this available free on the web, don't you?
That is correct. It's for the people who qualify for the 1040 EZ, which basically is about 25 million people with incomes under 50,000 who don't have dependents. And they'll be able to go to our website and actually prepare their return using a simple program.
Don't even have to buy your software.
That's correct.
But hopefully next year they will.
That's the idea.
Gene,
Stuart.
thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, the other popular tax program out there is TurboTax from Intuit. The programs are very similar, but there are some differences, so we want to make sure you can pick out the one that's best for you. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, how
You'll
are
be
you?
our guide through TurboTax, which is the big competitor for TaxCut. I guess first of all, from a viewer's point of view, they want to know, well, which one should I use? Are they really different? Is there anything different between these two?
Well, they are different. We've been doing this for 15 years, and what we've learned is that people want to do their taxes quickly.
Yeah.
So what we've done is we've customized the interview to eliminate unnecessary screens and eliminate needless work.
Now, how do you do that? I mean, how does it know who I am?
Well, it's really simple. All you do is you answer questions, and the rest of the interview is based on your answers. So if you go, for instance, let's go to tax documents you received. We ask you simply, which tax forms did you receive in the mail? You check W-2s, and that means that you don't have to see screens pertaining to K-1s because you don't have any K-1s.
If there's no 1099s, I'm not going to have to go through all that stuff.
That's correct, and so it really eliminates a lot of extra work.
Okay.
So it's completely customized, and another way that we've customized the interview is with this interview navigator over on the left-hand side. You may notice that it's really pertaining to my tax situation. There's nothing in here that isn't in my return. So if I want to quickly change something, say on my W-2, it's right there, one click away. So I can just quickly look at my return. This is completely customized, and now say I want to delete this.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I mean, sometimes the nightmare with these programs is you decide in the middle to change, and it's very confusing to figure out how to undo stuff.
Exactly. In fact, it's so complicated, people oftentimes can't do it. They have to start over again.
Yeah.
So what we've done this year, right in the interview, we give this one-click delete. So now I can delete this W-2, and a lot of times people just...
That doesn't sound too legit.
Well, it's great. A lot of times what people do is they'll enter something, say, you know, I have an extra job, I want to see what that'll do to my bottom line, but I don't want this in my return because it's not really my W-2. So one click, I can delete it.
Okay, so you can do sort of what-ifs here, an experiment, because we all want to make sure the tax bill is as low as possible.
And the important thing is that you have an accurate return, and the important thing is that you can quickly see, you know, what you've done, what information you have in your return. And so, you know, this navigator really helps with that. You can see your progress, you can see everything that's in your return.
Okay, now what about the question part that I was talking to with Gene and on Tax Cut before? I mean, the problem is a lot of times when you do this stuff, you have these complicated questions and complicated instructions, you're really not sure what the right thing is to do.
Well, we've made it so easy, right on screen, no matter where you are in the interview. We have frequently asked questions. There are over 2,000 of these, and they've been written by our tax experts. We have 270 tax experts who write these. They know the kinds of questions that people have when they're doing their taxes. So right on the screen, help when you need it.
All right, now what about, I know both of these programs do it. We didn't get a chance to do it with Tax Cut, but what about planning ahead? I mean, if you're really good about this stuff, I mean, you think about your taxes before you do them, not just afterward.
One of the things that TurboTax does is it takes all of the information that you've entered during the interview and incorporates that into your plan. So it doesn't drop you on a form, it actually walks you through an interview helping you plan. We help you plan for next year, and we also give you customized advice on what to do about, for instance, converting to an IRA. And let's see if I can find it right here.
Deductible IRA contributions, I see that over there.
Right here. Actually, we need to, we're in planning.
Okay.
And
but anyhow, if I have these kinds of questions, I can go in here, and it also has answers to
and it
those.
walks you through. So the important thing is that it has an interview, and it uses the information that you've already entered in your plan.
Now, when people do their taxes, of course, you are concerned, as you said, about being audited. And you always see on these boxes, guaranteed, and, you know, if you get audited, don't worry about it. I mean, if you do, I assume the software knows how to multiply. So it's not going to make that kind of mistake. But what happens if you get stuck and you get audited and you say, hey, here's my box of TurboTax, you look at it?
Well, we absolutely 100% guarantee the accuracy of your return if you use TurboTax. In fact, the IRS has told us that returns that they receive that have been prepared using tax software have less than 2% of errors. That's versus 20% if you manually prepare your return. And we 100% guarantee the calculation. So if there's an error due to calculations in our software, we will pay the penalty plus interest.
That's the easy part, right? Now, what about electronic filing? Can you do that with
Electronic filing is completely integrated. So we walk you through electronic filing step by step, transmit your return securely to the IRS.
State taxes?
State taxes also, step by step. All your federal information flows right to your state, so you don't have to do any extra typing.
So take your choice. All right, thank you very much, Elizabeth. That's our look at tax software. I'll be back in just a minute with my pick of the week. Now for my pick of the week. The internet has obviously had an immense influence on society, but its influence has been deeper than you may think. We've gotten used to some very nice features of the web, like hot links, frames, search engines, etc. Now a company called Enfish Technology has used these internet concepts to solve some of the information overload problems created by the net and by computers in general. What they've come up with is an innovative new piece of software called Tracker Pro. What this software does is treat everything on your hard drive as one massive database. It acts like a web search engine and goes out and finds what you're looking for on your PC, whether it's a document, a graphic, a web bookmark, or an email. Here's how it works. On the left side of the screen, you have trackers, keywords, names, projects, etc. that you want to keep track of. The software automatically scans all your files and creates a tracker list for you. Then on the right side of the screen, the program displays the headers or summaries of all of the files of any type from any source that are relevant to the tracking subject or search word. At the top of the screen, you can then manage the information by adding filters, posting quick notes, or quickly viewing the file, even if the application is not running. The software also automatically generates hot links, so you can just click on a highlighted word and it'll take you to another document that deals with the same subject. The program is called Enfish Tracker Pro, and it sells for under $80. That's it for this edition of the Chronicles. We'll be back here again next time with more of the latest in software, hardware, and the net. Thanks for joining us. I hope we'll see you next week.
The Computer Chronicles is made possible in part by PeopleSoft, a global supplier of enterprise application software for business, education, and government. PeopleSoft. We work in your world. By TechWeb for up-to-the-minute technology news. And by TVA, Television Associates, bridging the worlds of computers and video with DVD authoring and MPEG encoding services.
To purchase a videotape copy of today's program, call toll-free 1-888-310-7850. Please specify the show number and the topic.
Next week on the Computer Chronicles, Windows 98. We'll show you some of the new features of Win98. We'll ask Windows Magazine editor Mike Elgin whether it's worth upgrading. You'll meet some Windows 98 users to see what they think. We'll show you some of the more fun aspects of Windows 98 with 2 add-on packages, Plus 98 and Gizmos 98. We'll meet the man who developed one of the popular alternatives to Windows, Mr. Linux, Linus Torvalds. It's all coming up next week on the Computer Chronicles.